since 9 a.m. This boat working from Skelton coming down. So we're very happy to be with you this afternoon. My name is Jagdeo, and I'm the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. And today is quite an auspicious day for all of you. The critic is not employing anybody today. All he's doing is taking your pictures. And so today is very important for us here in Kanji. We have quite a few hundred persons who have to be registered and sign their contracts this afternoon. So without us creating much ado and with you bearing with us waiting for over 2 hours, I think, let us make sure that this investment that the government is making with you, that we treated it well, and for all of the things that I would use one of the arguments that the Vice President used yesterday, that for all of you who have been complaining, and as Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, I know people from Kanji, in addition to the meetings that I've had in some of the communities here, that you have complained about services of the government. Some of you have complained about services of the NDC. Some of you have complained about the presence of our councillors. You have also complained about the RDC and how much work has to be done. Some of you, I think up to 2 days ago, someone messaged me on the quality of a road that is currently being constructed. So now you are going to be part of this team that President Ali has created to make sure that all of us gets an opportunity to be part of the wider program of development pursued by His Excellency. You are now executing part of the massive program that the President is building to have our country united, making sure that everyone gets a fair opportunity and a fair chance. So I'd now like to invite our Vice President to formally launch the program in Kanji for you.
So thank you for being so patient. As Nigel pointed out yesterday, we started, and this activity here will conclude a set of events that would result in some 3,000 people across this region now becoming employees of the government through this part-time job program. And so I'm going to take you today through the rationale for creating the program and about where we're going and how this program could be used as a stepping stone to another higher goal. And I expect that each of you would have these personal aspirations to not just be stuck in programs like these, which are meant to give you room to grow, but that each of you have a plan for yourselves to improve your lives. So we have just emerged from the pandemic that is an ability now to conduct affairs without wearing a mask or having gatherings such as these being declared illegal. And it has been a tough 18 months. We got into office with a lot of enthusiasm after a long 5 months fight over maintaining our democracy. And it was with the support of the international community, the courts, and all the institutions that preserve democracy that the People's Progressive Party prevailed. So we had outlined our plan of action when we assumed office. And if you go back into history, and since I'm speaking to predominantly young people, often who don't have, by virtue of their years, you're just very young, don't have a chronological understanding of our history, either political history or economic history, it's important to see that parties make promises to people, often when they campaign. And then you yourselves have to look at how they deliver on those promises. So we made a lot of promises in the pre-election period. We have every intention of delivering on these. And so today I'm going to quickly take you through some of these promises and how your initiative here, the one that you're engaged in, is part of that wider vision. So we have been critical of the last government. We said that the policies they pursued were harmful to the expansion of the economy and to job creation. But if you want more jobs, then you cannot disincentivize the source of creating the jobs, which is greater investment. And what happened was precisely that. The previous government and the productive sectors put the value-added tax on machinery and equipment. So the miners, people in forestry, the agricultural sector, anyone who was making any investment and say putting up a factory, even for manufacturing, on the capital equipment that they were investing, they had to pay a 14% tax. Now that's not small when you talk about a bulldozer or a combine. That's about $5 million more in taxes. It disincentivizes production. As a consequence of that and other policies, VAT on water and electricity, pushing up the cost of doing business. Land rentals, almost in like region 5 in the MMA area, increased fivefold. These things led to a shrinkage. Our agriculture, our forestry output shrunk by 50% between 2014 and 2020. If you're producing 50% less, it means proportionately probably 50% less jobs. The mining sector shrunk. Many of our miners went out of production, lost jobs. In the agricultural sector, in the sugar belt particularly, apart from these inimical to development policies that were pursued, we had a deliberate policy to lay off sugar workers. And so we lost 7,000 workers across the country. But in this region, you lost maybe close to 5,000. Here at Rose Hall, the factory was closed, and at Skelton. Now, in an economy like Berbice, Region 6, that is entirely or almost predominantly reliant on sugar, because there are a lot of very few other major economic activities in the region. Rice growing is one of them, but very few. When you lose the disposable income from 5,000 sugar workers, it led to a shrinkage of economic activities across the region, because the farmers could not supply as much as they would have supplied in the past, because you have less income to buy their produce, the fishermen, the businessmen, everyone. It was a vicious cycle. And we said we had to reverse that, because in the long run, there'd be no future for Berbice. Had there been a parallel plan to replace employment, then we could have been supported, but there was no parallel plan. So we came into the office, we lost 35,000 jobs before COVID struck. And then when COVID struck, we lost another 40,000 jobs, because taxi drivers couldn't go, waitresses, all of the people operating bars and businesses, etc. Everything was shut down. So the 50,000 jobs that we promised to create in the 5 years, we now have to probably double that. We have to double that. And we're busy working at this. I'm going to outline to you a bit of the master plan. So we have now made major because of the way we addressed the pandemic. Because we focus, unlike so many other countries of the world where they shut down totally, like Trinidad and Tobago, and they lost the economic activities at a high rate of unemployment. But when you examine their results, they had an even higher death rate than Guyana that did not shut down totally. So we were vindicated in the approach we took. And we work at building up a capability swiftly from 40 tests per day to 5,000 tests per day now. We transform a hospital, put in oxygen, ICU, a whole range of stuff. We scoured the world for vaccines when the developed world will not sell to the developing world like Africa or the Caribbean or Asia. They kept everything for themselves. We managed to find that, and now we have about 80% of our adult population vaccinated. So because of that, our death rate is less than half of the United States of America on a per capita basis. So we came out fairly well from the pandemic, but nevertheless we lost many lives, and every life we lost is a sad thing. But it was a big struggle to do this. And we kept the economy open. I remember the first cabinet meeting, most people were saying shut down, like all the other airports around the world were shut down. And we said, no, we're reopening our airport, we're allowing people to start reopening their business. Because you can't go through a cycle of opening up and shutting down all the time. And we were vindicated. So we managed to get quite a few of the jobs back. But then we started rolling out the master plan. In Region 4 today, we have a deficit of labor. We have labor shortages in Region 4. There are hundreds of employers who are looking for people and can't find people to work. If you give me a large number of people, 500 to 1,000 here, maybe more than all the people here, I can find jobs for them easily if they're in Region 4, particularly in some areas. In Region 3, the same thing is starting to happen because we're shifting some of the economic activities across the river, and we're also, where the last government shut down the sugar estate at Wales, we're now building a power plant and bringing the gas pipeline there. So the jobs are getting even scarcer in region. Well, not the jobs, but you have a deficit of of opportunities, and in some parts of the other regions, but in Region 3 we have too many jobs there and too little fewer employees. So in those two regions, we've been very successful at getting people to work. In Regions 2, 5, 6, 10, and the hinterland regions, it's harder because you can't get the investors to go as swiftly as we wanted. And in the last 2 years with the pandemic, we're just starting a program. So we decided that the way to work on this is to make sure that people, whilst we're working on the longer term plans for these regions, and I've just spent a large amount of time outlining what the plan is for the region elsewhere, that whilst we're working on that, we need to get people to work. Now, if you see, we went to the Essequibo Coast, 2,000 persons are working there now. Linden, another 1,000. When I came back from Linden, the opposition leader and one of his minions, Mr. Mahipo, first of all, they said, we don't want temporary jobs. So these are not temporary jobs. These are part-time jobs. It's not defined for a period like 3 months or 6 months. Once you get onto the program, you stay on the program for a long term. We hope you will come off the program on your own because you would have gotten a better job, but you're not going to be kicked off. So that's the first misleading thing. And then for someone to say that when your party just emerged from power and we lost 35,000 jobs before the pandemic because of your policy, you should be welcoming any initiative to create jobs. But it's counterproductive. But if you know the People's Progressive Party, one thing about it, if we believe that we're doing the best thing for the country and our people, we're not going to be distracted or detracted by these comments that are designed to misrepresent people. I remember the same opposition that was saying to people, don't apply for the gold scholarships. And many people defied them and applied. And today we have 6,000 people who are studying, another 5,000 this year. We promised 20,000 scholarships in the 5 years. And we hope, as I said, everywhere I've gone to, we hope that all of you will study. If we can find 30,000 people in this region who want to do a tertiary level program or a technical level program, we were willing to pay for this scholarship. And even if you have not completed the CXC, so you don't qualify for one of those programs, we've just launched a remedial program. So within 3 to 6 months, you can then, if you complete the program, you can then qualify for the others. So I recall the opposition leader and his minions again trying to detract people from this. They asked, what are the qualifications of people? And yesterday when I launched the program in New Amsterdam, I said the only qualification for you to get on this program is being Guyanese, nothing else. You don't have to have any other qualification. And that's good enough for the People's Progressive Party that you get this. That's good enough for us. So this program will continue. We hope that, as I said elsewhere, that it's not free money, that you have to work 10 days every month to earn this money. And that we hope that wherever you are placed, and we hope to place you closer to your home, we hope to place you in a whole range of sectors, daycares, schools, hospitals, police stations if necessary, in the RDC offices, wherever you can serve people. Your job is to serve people. Nigel pointed out what I said to be yesterday, that many people complain about public servants and how they don't treat people based on heart, that they do so callously. Now you are going to become employees from the moment you sign that agreement. You're now working for government. So don't do the same thing. Treat people with respect. Whoever comes to receive the services, wherever you work, treat them with respect, give them full 10 days work, because this job is to serve your people and the communities in which you serve. All of our people, wherever they are, whoever they are. And that is what our expectation of you are. Here in Kanji, we made it clear we're reopening the estates. This estate, we've had some difficulties doing so because of the pandemic and supply shortages, not just for food globally, but now even machinery and equipment. Factories were closed, increasing cost of living because we can't get the supplies. Many of the countries have banned export of cooking oil and wheat and all of these things. They're keeping it for themselves, and that is why you see a big focus of the government on food security, because in the future, given where the world is going, because of climate change, so you have, the world is 80% water stressed. You have less forested lands that can be converted into arable lands. That's on the supply side. And on the demand side, the world population is growing steeply and the consumption patterns are changing. So when you bring those two together, shrinkage on the supply side and a growth in demand, what you will have is an escalation in prices or scarcity, global scarcity. And you would have a situation where in the world, in the future, people may have money and can't find food. We've already seen it. Prime Minister Mottley was here, the conference, and she said, if the boats can't sail from Miami for a period of time, the Caribbean islands would not have any food. We're fortunate in Guyana over the years that we consume a lot of what we produce. So we produce a lot of what we consume. And even now, we're starting to do some experiment on varieties of wheat, warm weather wheat, so we can ensure that we not only remain a net food exporter, but we also can supply domestic demand when these scarcities occur. So not because we've become an oil and gas country, we are going to do what so many other countries have done. The dreaded Dutch disease that has been an affliction of those countries, that when they splurge on the money that they receive, which is short term, then it changes relative prices in the entire economy and destroys the other sectors. So we've seen that in Nigeria, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Venezuela. Look what is happening in Venezuela. 3 million barrels of oil per day and no food. People flee the country. We can't go that route. And that is why as young people, you hear a lot. I just came from another community meeting and people were saying, all the oil money, why not spend it? And I said, for example, we collected in the last 2 years about $350 million per annum. That's US dollars. We had not spent a cent until recently, maybe 3 weeks ago, where some of the money has been transferred to the budget. So contrary to the belief that we're spending oil and gas money, we had not spent it as yet. It's first year it's brought into the budget. But when you look at the magnitude of it, we're building 6 new hospitals across the coast, each for about $30 million. One here in Berbice too, outside of upgrading. This is apart from upgrading New Amsterdam and Port Morant. Each of these will be 65,000 square feet, 3 operating theaters, CT scan level. We're redefining primary health care. Those will cost 30 million each. 6, that's 180 million. And we are building a children and maternal hospital in Georgetown that will take care of the whole country. And these will all start before the end of the year. So if we have difficult cases with children or women, they have a specialized hospital, which would be good as any part of the world. That's 175 million. The 2 projects, just those 2, are more than the oil and gas money for a year, just in healthcare. So people think that there's a lot of money coming in. In the latter years, we'll get more. APNU said we should give every citizen. They couldn't give the children $10,000 Guyana dollars per year. They removed that, saying we couldn't afford it, that the children grant. But they're saying now, out of office, that we must give every person $5,000 US every year. Oh, that's a lot. A lot of people say, I want it, yes, right? Even PPP supporters, it's got free money. So, but is it real? That's what sensible people who read. 800,000 times 5,000 US, that's 4 billion US a year. We're collecting 350 million, but we'll distribute nearly 12 times as much as we collect. It's nonsense. It sounds popular. You listen to TikTok, Glenn Lamb, and he believes that we should stop working. We're so rich now. We're oil and gas country now. We must stop working. Our per capita GDP is $9,000. The United States is $72,000. But they work 3 jobs a day. They don't stop working.
We should stop working. So you hear a lot of nonsense. We will get wealthier. All of our people will do better. But we have to work towards it. Nothing comes easy. I recall the early days when I was Minister of Finance. That was a tough period. We couldn't find money to pay wages and salaries. We couldn't find money to buy drugs in the hospital because 153% of revenue went to service debt. We were bankrupt. And even without oil and gas, because of judicious management with rigid fiscal discipline, we brought this back to one of the most viable economies in the Western Hemisphere. But that's the kind of deliberate, long-term focus we need to have, not the populist focus that people find on Facebook and the media. And I want to urge you as young people to avoid that. Read for yourselves. Be very discerning. When you read one view, try to get another view and then analyze for yourselves. That's what we need from our young people if you're going to take this country forward. That's it. That's the approach to national development that we want. So in this region here, you're going to see a lot of new things happening. Just down the road, I was saying, we are trying to shift more of the oil and gas activities to Berbice. So once we get that going, you're going to see thousands of new jobs here, similarly to what is happening in Demerara River, the mouth of the Demerara River. We also are going to do the training college at Port Moran. The training college they have now for Gaisuko, we're converting that to train for the entire country oil and gas, for the oil and gas sector. We have about 7 new major international hotels going up in Georgetown. We need 3,000 people to work in these hotels. The training will be done right here at Port Moran. We're also, with these hospitals that we're building, not just those 7, but upgrading New Amsterdam, Linden, Georgetown, 3 major teleconferencing, telemedicine facilities in the 4 hinterland regions, 1, 7, 8, and 9, upgrading Bartica, West Dem, all of these. We need about twice as much people working as nurses and medical professionals and nursing aid. We're shifting a major training program to Region 6, so you can do more training in this area. At Palmyra here, there'll be a new stadium, just like with a 10,000 seating capacity like the one we have at Providence, which will start before the end of the year. But you saw what the stadium did to the East Bank. We built it deliberately there because it was across the river from Region 3. It served as a growth pole. If you go to Providence now, you see hotels, a whole range of facilities around it. It's become a high-end area. Here already, just a stone throw away, we've already have proposals for 2 major hotels, hospitals, shopping malls, etc. That would create maybe thousands of jobs just here, some high-end housing, other business ventures. We're thinking about linking the airstrip, lengthening the airstrip and linking it to the investment here. There in the Molson Creek area, we met with the farmers, we set up a committee. You're going to have about 35,000 new land that we are there, and new lands being opened up because we are building a road now to go to the bridge, the new bridge that will be built across the Quarantine River up Molson Creek. So 35,000 acres. We work with the farmers to bring that into productive use. That's about maybe 3,000 jobs. We're looking at Gaisuko land there, aquaculture, hemp. If you know, you've seen we've just tabled hemp legislation. Hemp was illegal. Hemp is still illegal until we pass the law because it looks like marijuana. The plant looks the same, but you can't smoke it and get high. You have to smoke like a room full. That's what I'm told, a big room full. So, but they use hemp as industrial hemp. It's made to make paper and cardboard and clothing and oils and soaps and a whole range. So we're hoping to get a processing plant, convert some of the lands to the farmers there. They can grow and supply them. There are lots of things here in this region, job creating initiatives. We need to get about 6 or 7 industries going, multiple sources. We've been reliant too much on sugar for too long. So multiple industries that can generate the jobs and then higher paying jobs. So that's what I'm hoping, that you will utilize this program as a stepping stone to study, to utilize the scholarship programs that are offered by the government. As I said before, anyone who wants to study will pay for your studies online. We hope that you will try to seek out other jobs. So if it's better paying, then you can leave on your own. You're not going to be kicked off this program unless you don't show up for work. That is a different thing. So please make sure up to work. This is what we're about. And 6 months from now, I don't want to speak too much now. Already I'm speaking for a very long time, and I'm sure you're eager to move forward. But in 6 months from now, I'm going to come back and see how you're faring. This is something that we hold dearly. We want to see it succeed, and it would help enormously the economy in Berbice. With the 3,000 people employed, that's about $120 million more per month in the economy here. That's over, well, it's nearly $1.5 billion over a year, more into the economy here, and more disposable income. Can have a big economic impact in the area too. But thank you very much for being here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in 6 months' time. Good luck with your program.
So guys, you would have heard the Vice President.
Let me just say, if there's anything that you want me to follow up on and you don't have an opportunity to raise it with me, wherever I've gone, that's why the meetings have taken so long. People have a ton of issues to raise. So I have my staff from the Office of the President. All you have to do is ensure that you give them your name and number, and then we'll get back in touch with you. We'll call you and find out what the issue is, and then you can let us know. Okay? So please, where are they? We're at the back there. So just next to where you're being registered. If you want us to follow up on anything, you can give them the name and number. Thank you very much.
So the Vice President would have come to Rose Hall to deliver jobs that were promised to citizens from the surrounding communities. The jobs in these areas have added up to some 3,000 jobs across Region 6, and you'd have seen the complete operation, how it rolled out on the Guyanese Critic Live. All right.
You good?
Anything you want to say to me, tell my staff, name and number. Give them your name and number, we'll get that. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Thank you.
You got it?
Also, citizens are using this opportunity for photo ops.
Going a bit closer.
I gotta go and take out some pictures too, guys. So till we reach the next location.